Hello and welcome. So today we have Diana Walker and Trudy Stolting, and our topic is Vitataste. And this is what we'll be talking about during the session, and it'll be about 25 minutes. And this is Sunrider products that we're talking about, and here is the other one that we're going to have a lot of emphasis on, the NuPlus. But yeah, and there's Trudy with her NuPlus up too. So when you start Sunrider, often you will use the Fortune Delight, the Quinary, the NuPlus, and those are Nourish, Balance, Cleanse, along with the Sunrider Stevia. So that's what we usually like to start people on. But we wanted to put an emphasis on Vitataste for one thing. Halloween is coming up, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and everybody is having a lot of sweets, or maybe having a lot of sweets. So we wanted to really tell about Vitataste. So before we get going any further, I'd love Trudy to introduce herself and tell us a little bit of her story and how she got involved with Sunrider.
Well, I got introduced to Sunrider in 1996, would you believe, Diana, 23 and a half years ago. And a good friend of mine introduced it to me, and she tried approaching me several times. I was quite ill. I had a lot of health challenges, some really serious ones. And she kept saying, I think I have something that may help you. And I just kept brushing her off. And then one day I had been in the hospital, really not doing well, and they sent me home, and I just on total bed rest. And she came to see me, and she goes, "Well, you're dying anyway. What have you got to lose?" And sometimes you just have to whack someone across the head to catch their attention. And I thought, I haven't got nothing to lose. I will try these. And Karen, bless her soul, to this day, I'm so grateful for her, because she taught me about the Nourish with NuPlus, wonderful, wonderful foods, and the balancing with the quinary, or the quinary it's called, right? She told me about the stevia, which I really, really loved. And she told me about Cali tea. It turned out that I prefer Fortune, like you mentioned, the Fortune Delight tea, but she told me about the Cali. And that's what I started with. And my body slowly regenerated. As a matter of fact, it turned out that NuPlus was my favorite food in the whole entire world. I could eat it and I'd never, ever have trouble digesting it. So my body slowly started taking this incredible nutrition and regenerating itself. It started to repair itself. And these aren't drugs or medicines. These are foods and food category herbs. And my body knew what to do with food. And I got well. And it was the most exciting thing. To be so ill and be told that you're dying and to get really well was exciting. And Diana, I was able to go back to work, and you and I worked together for many years, and I had been off on disability. And when I came back to work, I started telling you about these foods. So why don't you tell me what happened?
I'd love to, Judy. Thank you for your story. And look at you. You're so beautiful. You get younger and younger. And that's what we're all finding with Sunrider. And yes, you introduced me to Sunrider in general in the cafeteria. So you were very sick. First, we were friends. You were very healthy, 4 boys, and our sons were friends, and in football together, and we worked together. And then all of a sudden, you were long-term disability. And it wasn't all of a sudden, but you were on long-term disability. Then we saw you come into the lab, and you were looking worse and worse, and you were not in good shape. And then you were back at work. And I found out later that it was after about 8 months of using the Sunrider products. But when we sat together in the cafeteria, you were sharing, of course, the NuPlus and the Sun Bars and the Funny Drops, the Stevia, and everything with people. And I would sit at the table, but I wasn't interested because I had my own way of doing things because I was a naturopath in 1980. However, I suffered from very painful hips in the morning. I was 49 then. I suffered from PMS and, premenopause. I was up and down in my moods. I was not in great shape, but I was not admitting those parts. So one day I said, okay, I'll try that. And it happened to be a NuPlus. So it was amazing because by the next morning, I took this in the evening, and in the next morning, my hips weren't aching for the first time in about a year. And so I thought, okay, there is something to this. And of course, I was still skeptical, but then I just couldn't get enough as I started to learn. So this being my first product, not everybody gets instant, relief from some inflammation like I did, but the ingredients in here are, now I'm funny about this because I like knowing all the ingredients. This is koi fruit, that's spelled COIX. Koi fruit, Chinese yam, foxnut, lotus seed, lotus root, water lily bulb, imperat root, and it does have various beans of different colors: green, red, black, white. And so this has very similar ingredients to the Vitataste, which is one of our main topics today. Yes, you got a bottle too. And in here is lychee fruit, hoishu wu, koi fruit, lotus seed, lotus root, water lily bulb, imperat root, foxnut. So this does not taste that great. It tastes very herbal, and some people, find it a little difficult to use. This is delicious and comes in other flavors. This is simply herbs. This is the one that we emphasize. So anyway, so I I found out about Vitataste through going to Trudy's meetings and Jim's meetings, and it turns out that you can do a test. Take one of the capsules, put it on your mouth, put it in your tongue, wash it around, keep it in for about 45 seconds, then drink some water or some Fortune Delight and wash it down. So then, but before that, you should have a piece of your favorite chocolate, some candy, whatever you love, and then you have this. Then you have another piece of your favorite candy or chocolate, and it is not going to taste great. So, Trudy, tell us more about how we shared in the hospital.
Oh my gosh, I could tell you. How about if I share that? I keep that story for you. I just want to tell you about sharing it in a trade show. You reminded me of something really hilarious. I was in a trade show in Kamloops, and it's quite, I'd say redneck territory. A lot of truckers and farmers, ranchers, and very down to earth, wonderful, salt of the earth people. And they tend to live a little bit tough, right? And this man came in front of the table, and he was huge. He was like, 6.5 feet tall and really big and burly and had a nice rough beard looking. And we were doing the Vitataste test. I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he goes, sure. Yeah, I'll do it. And he said, because he wanted to quit smoking. So I opened up a Vitataste capsule and gave him a sweet and just a Smartie. And he ate it and gave him opened up Vitataste capsule, put it in his mouth and ate it and had another Smartie. He goes, oh, that tastes terrible. And I said, well, now why don't you go outside and have your smoke and then come back and tell me what it tasted like? And he did, but it was a long time before he came back. And it was like about an hour he came back and he goes, I want to talk to you. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, my cigarette tastes like an ashtray and my beer tastes absolutely awful.
That's awesome, Trudy. I'd forgotten that story too. It's so true because this does work with anything that you're trying to, do a little bit less of or get rid of. And a cigarette actually because there is sugar in the formulas. A cigarette tastes like nothing. Apparently, I didn't try it. But speaking of smoking, I actually did smoke up until from the age of 16 to the age of 40, off and on. I was a naturopath. I knew better, but I would be like a social smoker on a weekend or once a year or once a month. I was playing with it. And then finally it was an addiction. And when I was 40, like I found Sunrider when I was 49, you introduced me to it. But at the age of 40, I quit completely and never touched a cigarette since. So I'm 72 now. So for 32 years, I haven't smoked. But those 9 years before Sunrider, there was always in the back of my mind, oh, one day if I get too stressed, I'm going to have a cigarette. And after a year of Sunrider, and it's the NuPlus, because I wasn't using the Vitataste daily, but the formula in here, about a year, I woke up one day and I'm like, however stressed I get, I would never touch a cigarette again in my life. So it's interesting how it works on a lot of different addictions. So thank you for that story. That was
Now I'm dying to hear about the Christmas story.
Yes, our Christmas story. So it's so applicable because we're just 2 months away now from Christmas, and then 2020 coming up. So what I did, and Trudy did some of this too, but I knew a lot of the people in the lab and the x-ray and various departments in the hospital. And it was Christmas time because I was introduced November 1996. So in November, it will be 23 years since I started Sunrider. And anyway, I took this with me to the lab, is where I really remember. They had Purdy's chocolates, quite expensive chocolates. And I said, do you want to do an experiment? And so they would take it. They were good sports about it. And they'd have it in their mouth, and then they'd have the Purdy's chocolate. And the wastebasket was just filled with Purdy's chocolates because the taste, it tastes like lard or like some of the fat that's in there because the sugar and even the chocolate taste are cut. So, and that lasts for 4 hours after a Vitataste or longer. But it changes, like if you have celery or broccoli, it enhances the taste. You love the taste of broccoli and celery. So this is how we do our demos, is to show how it cuts the sugar taste. It also increases the taste of salt. So if you're a person that just loves salty chips, you'll be satisfied with a lot less because they'll taste too salty. So it helps with salt addiction, sugar addiction, and even with helping with a good program for smoking or anything like that. So it's quite dramatic.
Yeah. One of the things that I love with Vitataste is my husband has been a diabetic for a long, long time. And we call it the adaptogen food or the behavior modification food. Vitataste really helps him to have more balanced blood sugars. So it really helps. He just takes 2 in the morning and 2 usually in the evening, or if he thinks of it, 2 in the morning, 2 at lunch, 2 at supper, and his blood sugars stay a lot more stable. And so for person that is diabetic, that might be a product that they would like to try and see what effect it has to stabilize their blood sugars as well. It doesn't mean he's not diabetic. It just means he's a more stable diabetic. And that's a really great thing to have. So he loves that.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, because that's, I know that within the Sunrider line, so I'm going to read from here. The Vitataste decreases your craving for sugar, and it can restore normal mechanism of appetite and increase stability of blood sugar levels. But I hadn't really thought about that part before. And nourishes the body to overcome the cravings for smoking, overeating, unhealthy food. and it nourishes the pancreas and the adrenal glands.
Yeah.
So I do know that Dr. Ruben Chen,
Mhm.
who has done a video on Vitataste, and he talks in his video about the fact that if you are eating sweets, that even taking the Vitataste does help to flush it out of your bodies and helps your pancreas and your adrenals. So even if you're not completely using it to get off all sugar, and you happen to indulge, this does help with that. And like you say, Trudy, the stabilizing the blood sugar levels.
Yeah. And how appropriate right now. I mean, we're looking at Halloween this next week, and kids are going to go out and they're going to get all sorts of goodies, and none of them are very nutritious. It's very difficult to give something really nutritious. And I love to give Sunrider Sunbar for Thanksgiving, I mean, for Halloween, because the kids at least are getting something really healthy, and it's amazing food. But the Vitataste, if you have children, you know what? They don't even have to open the capsules before they go trick or treating. Just have them eat a couple of these before they're going to start indulging in all those goodies. And I think that they may be able to handle the sugars a lot more efficiently and not absorb as many of the sugars. So it might help. I'm going to say may, because I never say it will help, but just eat it. Give it a try. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Trudy. And we don't have a lot of callers on the line this time, and often we do. So we probably don't have any questions, but if there's anything else that you think we missed, please let me know.
Mm-hmm. I think that we're pretty good, Diana. This is an amazing product. It could be a standalone product in Sunrider, but I love it in conjunction with the Nourish with NuPlus, Balance with Quinary, Cleanse with Cali or Fortune Delight. Those working together with the Vitataste, it's just so effective. Really, really effective. Why not feel good? You're living in your body anyway. Why not feel awesome and have that body be as healthy as possible?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and that just reminded me to hold up Nourish, Balance. So this is the quinary, and Cleanse with your Cali and your Fortune Delight. So I am so happy that you did this with me, and it was so fun to see you at convention just a few weeks ago, and then I'm going to see you in Salmon Arm again. You're going to be in Salmon Arm in 2 weeks. So I'm really excited for that. I think we'll get a good turnout, and it's always wonderful to see you and to do a webinar with you. So
thank you, Diana.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Hi, this is Diana Walker. Thank you for joining us, and please go to www.diana1.com and join our newsletter. Stay healthy.